The first time the GMC truck rolled into range of a German Panzer IV, every man inside understood a simple truth. The next 60 seconds would decide whether they lived or died. Cold rain soaked the narrow French road, turning packed earth into thick, clinging mud. Artillery thundered in the distance, each concussion rattling the hedgerows and shaking the air itself. Lieutenant Daniel Mercer tightened his grip on the steering wheel until the leather creaked beneath his hands. His knuckles bled through torn gloves, though he barely noticed. The vehicle beneath him was not a tank. It had no turret, no thick armor, no promise of survival. It was a GMC military truck, reinforced, modified, and armed with an experimental anti-tank gun bolted directly into its open bed. The steel plates shielding the crew were thin, improvised, and barely reassuring. This machine had never been designed to face enemy armor head-on. Yet here they were, ordered to do exactly that. This was not how the war was supposed to be fought. In 1940, the United States watched Europe collapse from across the Atlantic. Intelligence reports flooded Washington daily, German blitzkrieg columns tearing through Poland, France falling in a matter of weeks, entire defensive lines shattering under the weight of mechanized warfare. Again and again, one name appeared in the briefings: the Panzer IV. It was not Germany's heaviest tank, but it was the backbone of their armored forces, reliable, adaptable, and present in terrifying numbers. American planners quickly reached an uncomfortable conclusion. The U.S. Army did not have enough tanks. Worse still, many of the tanks it did have were not ready for modern war. But America did have trucks, thousands of them. And in desperation, someone asked a question no doctrine allowed. What if a truck could fight a tank? That forbidden idea gave birth to one of the boldest and most overlooked battlefield experiments of World War II. Mercer pressed the accelerator. The GMC's engine roared in protest as the truck lurched forward. Through drifting smoke, the Panzer IV emerged low, wide, confident. Its turret began to rotate with deliberate calm. "Driver, keep going," Sergeant Eli Dawson shouted from the back, gripping the gun mount. "We only get one shot." Mercer swallowed hard. This truck was America's answer to the Panzer IV, and history was about to decide whether that answer was brilliance or insanity. Long before Mercer ever faced that muddy road, the problem had already been identified in quiet rooms far from the front lines. In late 1940, U.S. Army intelligence officers stood over maps marked with red arrows. Each arrow represented a German advance. Each advance told the same story: panzer divisions moving faster than any existing doctrine had predicted. The Panzer IV was everywhere. It wasn't invincible, but it didn't need to be. Numbers, coordination, and speed made it deadly. America's tank program lagged behind. Designing and producing armored vehicles took time the Army no longer had. Meanwhile, the Quartermaster Corps delivered an unexpected report. "We can build trucks faster than anything else," one logistics officer said quietly. "And we can build them in massive numbers." The idea sounded reckless, even heretical. Trucks were meant to carry supplies, not challenge armored vehicles. But war had little respect for tradition. Engineers at GMC were summoned. What followed was not a polite request, it was a challenge. Could a standard military truck be reinforced to carry a gun powerful enough to destroy a Panzer IV? Could it move fast enough to strike and disappear before return fire? Could it survive long enough to matter? Some engineers dismissed the idea immediately. Others said nothing and began drawing. The solution was brutally simple. Reinforce the chassis. Mount a high-velocity anti-tank gun in the truck bed. Add minimal steel shielding for the crew. Sacrifice armor for speed. This machine would not duel tanks. It would ambush them. When the prototype rolled out of the factory, it looked wrong. Too tall. Too exposed. Too fragile. But testing revealed something remarkable. It could reposition faster than any tank on the battlefield. It could fire and relocate before enemy gunners could respond. High Command hesitated. The vehicle broke every rule. But the war itself was breaking rules everywhere. Limited deployment was approved. Men like Daniel Mercer were assigned to learn how to hunt tanks from the back of a truck. Training was brief. Brutally brief. Mercer had grown up on a farm in Iowa. He understood engines. He knew dirt roads and open fields. What he didn't know, what no one could teach him, was what it felt like to be hunted by steel. The crews trained in open fields, firing at moving targets dragged by cables. Each shot rocked the truck violently. The gun kicked like a living thing. Every miss felt personal. Sergeant Dawson drilled one lesson into them relentlessly. You do not stay still. Ever. You fire, you move, or you die. They learned to read terrain like sailors read the sea. Hills became shields. Curves became lifelines. Every road was a gamble. Every stop was a risk. At night, Mercer lay awake listening to idling engines, wondering if the men inside tanks felt the same fear or if armor turned terror into confidence. Orders arrived in 1942. North Africa first, then Europe. Officially, the GMC gun trucks were classified as mobile fire support. They were not supposed to engage tanks unless there was no alternative. Unofficially, they were sent wherever Panzer sightings caused panic. The first encounters were chaos. Some crews died instantly, their trucks torn apart by direct hits. Others achieved stunning successes, destroying tanks from unexpected angles and vanishing before German crews understood what had happened. Stories spread. German reports began mentioning American gun trucks, appearing where tanks should not be. Confidence grew. So did the danger. Each success encouraged commanders to push the trucks closer to the front, closer to the Panzer IVs. The French road narrowed between hedgerows. Mercer spotted the Panzer IV before it spotted them. Range, Dawson whispered. 200 yards. Too close. Far too close. Mercer accelerated anyway. The truck bounced violently as the gunner adjusted aim. The Panzer's turret turned. Fire! The round slammed into the tank's side armor. A flash. Smoke. The Panzer shuddered. Reload! The German gun fired. The shell screamed past, shredding the road behind them. Mercer swerved as the second shot struck home. Flames burst from the Panzer's engine deck. The GMC roared away while the tank burned. For one brief moment, there was silence. Mercer didn't cheer. His hands shook too badly. They had survived. This time. But by late 1943, the Germans adapted. Machine gun fire grew more precise. Ambushes became deadlier. Losses mounted. Mercer watched friends die as trucks burned like torches. High command faced the truth. The GMC truck was not a replacement for tanks. It was a stopgap, a bridge, until something better arrived. Shermans rolled onto the battlefield in growing numbers. Dedicated tank destroyers followed. The gun trucks were quietly reassigned, scrapped, or returned to logistics duty, scars still visible in their steel frames. Mercer survived the war. But the truck that saved him did not make the history books. After the war, victory stories favored giants, tanks, bombers, battleships. A truck that challenged a Panzer did not fit the legend. Records scattered. Photographs faded. The program slipped into footnotes. Yet the veterans remembered. They remembered speed over armor, courage over doctrine, innovation born from desperation. The GMC truck had never been meant to be a hero. That is precisely why it mattered. History is not only written by what wins, but by what buys time for victory to arrive. The GMC anti-tank truck bought time. And for 60 seconds on a muddy road, a truck stood against a Panzer IV and changed the outcome of a fight.